Sixers on Friday. Jaylen Brown also going to be linking up with LeBron in Philly, and then Giannis Antetokounmpo getting traded to the Heat. It's a new day in the East, baby. With that, we bring it a day after Bron picks Philadelphia out of all the choices he had. But when you think about their roster, we know how great the starting five could be offensively. Well, what other areas do they need to still address to fortify their championship aspirations?
Yeah, that offense for the starting five looks incredible, right? I mean, I thought forever that the Knicks had the best starting five. Now all of a sudden the Sixers will have to learn on that. But you're right, there are some other holes that they're going to want to adjust here because especially you would think regular season defense, right? But Jaylen Brown can absolutely be up anybody. LeBron, has taken a step back at 41 years old, going to be 42 in December, but can still guard 1 through 5 in a pinch and probably play some small ball 5. Joel Embiid is the question mark, right? He only played 38 games last year. It's been ever since he played 40 games. And so you go and look at, Dean Wade, because LeBron comes, he's a nice point of attack defender, but he's going to be coming off the bench. But after that, things get real thin real fast, Chris. I mean, you're looking at Dominic Farlow and Justin Edwards in the starting lineup. You're looking at Dembona and Ariel Hukporti that they poached away from the New York Knicks as the backup bigs to Embiid. If they're playing like 15 minutes a game in a pinch, that's fine. If they're the two guys that are going to have to spell Embiid when Embiid isn't out during the regular season, then all of a sudden it gets a little dicey. And then, of course, like that guard rotation after Tyrese Maxey and BJ Ashcroft looks good on Anthony Simons and the Baron Phylon, and then Caleb Love, who casuals might not know, but hardcore NBA fans, especially those in the Northwest, know that I'm big on him. But you would like probably somebody more of a can guard 1 through 3, 1 through 4. Maybe that's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope who they just brought in. I wonder if he's still watched. But basically, Chris, what you're looking at there is a little bit more defense as they move forward with the super helpful, and then a backup big as well.
Yeah, we saw, right? The Knicks, they won the championship due in part to their great defense. Meanwhile, I'm not sure there's a bigger loser in the East this offseason than the Boston Celtics when you think about their role in helping their rivals get Jaylen Brown and Bron. So what's your forecast for Boston in the pecking order in the East with Jason Tatum now the clear number 1 option in Boston?
I still think the Celtics are right there, but I'm glad you brought up what the Celtics did to kind of facilitate what happened in the improved Eastern Conference, because what went down was the Celtics reportedly, and Brad Stevens, who was the executive of the year, reportedly didn't want to put Hugo Gonzalez in the trade for Giannis. So when that happens, this domino effect happens where Giannis goes off to Miami, and then Jaylen Brown, who knew that he was dangled in the Giannis trade, didn't want to be in Boston anymore. And Boston thought they could get a big haul for Jaylen Brown, except for the best haul that they could get ended up being their rival in Philadelphia. So Jaylen Brown goes to Philly, and then all of a sudden LeBron looks at the situation and goes, all of a sudden Philadelphia looks like a place where I could win. So now LeBron ends up in Philadelphia, and all of this because Brad Stevens reportedly didn't want to put Hugo Gonzalez in the trade, and I think in retrospect, if Brad Stevens had that one to do over, he probably would. But all of that said, Chris, they're still the Celtics, right? I mean, like, I know that my Boston fan friends are kind of freaking out about this, and people are looking at the Celtics going, maybe they're going to take a step back. I still think they're going to be right in the Knicks, Chris. I have them in that second line behind the Knicks. I think the Knicks are the favorite in the Eastern Conference, but I would have with the Sixers on that second line, maybe the Raptors, depending on what happens with Kawhi Leonard, but ahead of the Cavs, ahead of the Pistons, ahead of the Heat. So the Celtics, Jason Tatum, Derek White, Nehemiah Tatum, Paul George, Mitchell Robinson, who they take away from the New York Knicks. That's a really good starting five, and they're still one of the deepest teams in the NBA. So despite the fact that Jaylen Brown moves on, LeBron James is in the Eastern Conference, and all the ripple effects that we talk about, I think the Celtics are going to be right there. And people waiting for them to fall off, I don't see it happen.
Yeah. But last year we thought, okay, this is going to be a down year. And what did they do? They were one of the best teams in the East, and they eventually lose to your Sixers. Now, Boston did have a chance, right, to grab Giannis Antetokounmpo, but didn't want to give up, to your point, their role players. Miami did, though. So now the Giannis and Bam era begins. Some people still a little skeptical about the roster playing when you think about for a title. Where do you think this team can address the current weaknesses that they have?
Yeah, the skepticism extends to LeBron James, right? And me. I was one of the people that was like, look, it's great that they got Giannis. They go big game hunting in Miami all the time. That's Pat Riley's MO. He went and got Shaq and LeBron previously, and Chris Bosh to pair with LeBron, and Jimmy Butler, and now he gets Giannis. All of that is to the good. But I think what LeBron identified and something that I've been looking at for a while is, well, what else, right? Because, yes, Giannis and Bam is a great front court. You bring back Andrew Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, for, again, casuals who may not know, is a great two-way player, but I don't know how much you're going to squeeze out of him on the offensive end, and do you really want him to be your starting point guard? But the whole thing here is that, Chris, in order to get Giannis, they had to ship out a bunch of guys that were valuable, right? Tyler Hero's gone, Pharrell Ware, who a really promising young big, Connie Hawkins, who was a Six-Man of the Year candidate, and they will lose Norman Powell. Yes, they're bringing Tim Hardaway Jr., but when I'm looking at that team, I'm thinking, well, where's the extra shot creation coming from? Where's the shooting coming from? Where's the floor spacing coming from? So they got some issues to address, and I suspect that that's part of the reason why LeBron looked at it and went, it would be great to pair with Giannis and Bam, but I'm not sure that we would have enough overall to really compete for a championship. So maybe they go and get a guy like a Zach LaVine, but Pat Riley still has more work to do. So I have them, again, it's the Knicks for me, and then the Celtics and the Sixers, and potentially the Raptors on another line, maybe the Cavs and the Pistons, then the Heat, because I think they still have some more to do.
You're not like that, man.
Yeah.
But listen, you know what it is, right? You're not going to please everybody. Meanwhile, the Raptors, they have aspirations to win their first title since 2019, but they are in a state of flux because of the Kawhi Leonard trade. back to Toronto is on hold since the NBA is still investigating whether the Clippers circumvented the salary cap by funneling money for Kawhi through the aspiration company. So what do they do, John, if this trade does go through? And if the trade does go through, how do you think they stack up in the East?
Yeah, I caught you saying that the Raptors have aspirations. That's a professional broadcaster right there for everybody watching at home. But you're right, the Raptors are looking at this thing going, man, what are we going to do if this Kawhi thing comes down on our head? Because the league informed the Raptors that they would, quote, assume the risk of any potential outcome of the investigation impacting Kawhi, right? Which could include voiding his contract. He's got a year left at a little over $50 million, then he's an unrestricted free agent. Or they could potentially suspend him. So the Raptors are going to have to look for potential punishment that's coming down the pipe and weigh whether or not it's worth going through with the trade or undoing it, kind of put the toothpaste back in the tube and deciding, okay, Brandon Ingram, hey, we traded you to LA. Come on back along with Grady Dick. Obviously, the Toronto Raptors want Kawhi Leonard and this trade to go through because pairing him with Scottie Barnes, RJ Barrett has been on the move forever, even since they brought him over from New York, everybody's already trying to reroute him. But with those three guys, plus Jakob Poeltl and Emmanuel quickly, makes for a really tasty, smart, potentially problematic for the rest of the Eastern Conference starting five. If you unplug Kawhi, though, all of a sudden, you saw what happened with the Raptors last year. They had a really good defense, but Brandon Ingram in the postseason just was a no-show. I mean, yes, he was hurt, but just not the guy that they anticipated he would be offensively when they went traded for him from the New Orleans Pelicans. So I don't know that there's a plan B here, Chris. But plan A, B, C, D, and E is that hopefully the league does not suspend Kawhi Leonard or void his contract, because if they do, the Raptors are right back where they were last season, which is going nowhere fast.
Yeah, Raptors fans, I don't even want to know what they would be thinking or saying if that trade gets undone. Now, the Pacers, they were one of the worst teams last year, but they do have Tyrese Halliburton back, have been missing the entire regular season because of that Achilles tear he suffered in the NBA Finals. How dangerous do you believe Indiana's going to be after last year's really struggled year when so many people, it wasn't just Tyrese, right? So many people were just injured left and right, and they just were never able to find them.
Yeah, this is one of the big questions in the Eastern Conference. It's